Nostradamus spoke of the split in humanity, the awakened and the lost, predictions for 2025. The world isn't breaking all at once, it's splitting quietly, not with thunder, but with whispers. Look again, the signs are subtle, but relentless. A shift in the way we feel, a tension in our dreams, the growing sense that something is pulling us apart, not just socially or politically, but at the very level of spirit. Nostradamus once spoke of a time when humanity would divide not by borders, but by awareness. The awakened would see beyond the veil, while the lost would sink deeper into illusion. This isn't a tale of doom, it's a mirror, a question. Which path are you on? Before the tide of distraction pulls you away again, take a breath and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom. What you're about to hear could change the way you see the world in 2025 and beyond. Number 1. Nostradamus's prophecy about the split in humanity. In the often overlooked 41st quatrain of century 8, Nostradamus wrote lines that have puzzled scholars for centuries but stirred the souls of mystics with eerie clarity. The great multitude will awaken, one part driven to light, one to blackened waters. Not all who see will see, and not all who sleep will stay asleep. At first glance, it may sound like poetic ambiguity, but when viewed through the lens of our modern time of digital overload, spiritual confusion, and rising global anxiety, these words begin to echo with undeniable relevance. The prophecy does not speak of an external war or dramatic cataclysm, but rather points to something far more subtle and profound, a metaphysical split in the consciousness of humanity. This divide is not about borders or politics, it's about awareness. It is about a collective turning point where people who occupy the same streets, live in the same cities, and speak the same languages begin to perceive reality in profoundly different ways. Some are beginning to wake up not in the superficial sense of acquiring knowledge, but in the deeper, more enduring sense of awakening to truth, to interconnectedness, and to the illusion of the material world. They start to question the systems they've been taught to trust, tune into their inner wisdom, and seek meaning beyond the screens and headlines. On the other side of this split, however, are those being pulled further into the blackened waters. Nostradamus mentioned those caught in a fog of distraction, fear, and manipulation. In this fog, clarity is replaced by constant stimulation, and instead of seeking silence or truth, many chase after noise, reacting to life instead of reflecting on it. Nostradamus's warning is especially powerful today because we are already seeing these signs, subtle but consistent. It's in the growing disconnection between people who feel more empathy, more sensitivity to suffering, more spiritual longing, and those who seem increasingly numb, angry, or addicted to comfort and consumerism. The schism is emotional, psychological, and spiritual. It begins not with a single apocalyptic event, but with what we overlook daily, our habits, our conversations, our choices of what we give our time and energy to. Every moment of unconscious scrolling, every argument fueled by ego, every surrender to fear adds another small cut to the fabric of our awareness. Number 2. Two groups, the awakened and the lost. Have you ever felt like the world is moving in two directions at once, as if people around you are living in completely different realities, even though you're all in the same place, breathing the same air? This isn't just imagination or coincidence, it's something deeper. Nostradamus once hinted at a great division within humanity, not of borders or belief systems, but of awareness. In our time, that division has become more visible, more real, and more urgent. Two distinct groups are forming not because of wealth or power, not even because of religion or politics, but because of how we see, feel, and respond to the deeper truths of life. These two groups are known as the awakened and the lost. The difference isn't about being good or bad, smart or foolish. It's about being tuned into life's quiet truths, not. It's about whether we live from within or are driven by everything outside of us. Let's start with the awakened. These are not saints or spiritual celebrities. Most of them are regular people like you and me who've begun to feel that something isn't right. It's not fear or panic they carry, but a sense that what we've been told doesn't match what they feel deep down. Have you ever had a moment where a coincidence felt too perfect, like a message just for you? Or maybe you've started questioning things that once seemed normal. The news, the education system, the constant push for more and faster. These are often the first signs of awakening. It may feel lonely, even painful to step out of the crowd and listen to the quiet voice inside that says, "There's more than this." But within that discomfort, a light begins to form, a light of clarity, of truth, and of connection to something higher. The awakened start to sense patterns and symbols in daily life. They may notice how dreams start to bleed into waking life, how conversations feel guided, or how they are drawn toward honesty, simplicity, and depth. Life begins to feel less like a race and more like a sacred journey. They are not perfect. They stumble, they struggle, but they are listening. They are trying to align their lives not with trends or expectations, but with something real, something eternal. And they feel it not just as a belief, but as a calling, a quiet pull toward truth. Now, on the other side, we have the lost. Not evil, not hopeless, but caught in a web of distraction, fear, and noise. Many live their days surrounded by screens, overwhelmed by news, opinions, likes, and trends, thinking they're informed, but not realizing how far they've drifted from their own inner voice. The lost are not aware that they're asleep. And that's the true danger, not ignorance, but disconnection. Nostradamus described this state poetically, saying their eyes are clouded like smoked glass. They are awake physically, but inwardly they are numb. They chase validation, applause, success, always hungry for the next thing, but never truly satisfied. Why? Because they've forgotten how to be still. They've forgotten how to listen to the quiet place inside where truth waits patiently. Number 3. Inversion of truth and values. Imagine living in a world where truth feels upside down, where what once felt sacred is now ridiculed, and what once seemed wrong is now praised. Nostradamus, the legendary seer, and many spiritual voices across time foresaw a moment like this, a period where human values would undergo a dramatic reversal. They spoke of a time when what is false would be lifted high, and what is genuine, kind, and wise would be cast aside. And if you look closely, doesn't it feel like we're already living in that time? Look around. Leaders talk about unity while their words divide. Celebrities preach self-love, but profit off of insecurity. Institutions claim to protect truth, yet often bury it. This isn't just a decline in morale, it's a full-blown inversion, where light is mistaken for shadow, and shadow wears the mask of light. As Nostradamus warned, the beast shall wear robes of virtue, and the wise shall be dressed as fools. Doesn't that quote strike a chord in today's world? This inversion isn't loud or obvious. It's quiet, sneaky, woven into the very culture we consume. You might not even realize it at first, because it's so normalized. But once you start to wake up, once you begin to see it, it's impossible to unsee. Suddenly, you realize that integrity is now seen as naive, that kindness is treated like weakness, and that simplicity, a clear mind, and a gentle heart is mistaken for ignorance. Meanwhile, confusion is marketed as cleverness, and loud opinions pass for wisdom. Have you ever felt like something deep inside you was whispering, "This isn't right," even when the whole world seemed to applaud it? That whisper may be the first spark of awakening. For those who are awakening, this isn't just intellectual, it's emotional, even painful. It feels like walking through a world that looks familiar but feels deeply wrong. Many of you may feel like your heart breaks when you see truth ignored or genuine compassion brushed aside. But let me ask you, could that heartbreak be a sign that you're seeing clearly, maybe even for the first time? The ancient Buddhist teaching reminds us, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. And peace, real peace, often begins with truth even when the truth hurts. It hurts because it matters. And it's that very pain that refines you, that strips away illusions and burns away false comfort. As Nostradamus described, the awakened are those who pierce the mirror with fire. Fire, in spiritual terms, doesn't destroy, it purifies. It brings clarity. So if you're feeling burned by the lies of the world, maybe that fire is not harming you, maybe it's transforming you. But the deception runs even deeper. One of the final and most dangerous illusions, Nostradamus warned, is the appearance of false harmony, what he called unity without fire. It sounds peaceful, doesn't it? Everyone agreeing, smiling, getting along. But ask yourself, what kind of unity demands silence? What kind of harmony requires you to hide your truth? This isn't real unity, it's uniformity. And uniformity suffocates the soul. In Buddhist terms, this is attachment disguised as peace, clinging to surface-level agreement while avoiding the deeper, necessary discomfort that comes with honesty. The Buddha once said, 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. And perhaps this moment in history is about learning to stand in that truth, even when it burns. So here we are, you and effacing a world turned upside down, where truth has been twisted and meaning lost. But maybe the most important question is this: what will you choose to see? Will you accept the illusion, or will you trust that inner voice calling you to awaken? And if you're already awake, will you keep walking the path, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely? Because make no mistake, the path of awakening isn't about being better than others. It's about being true to yourself. It's about having the courage to see the world as it is, not as it pretends to be, and still choosing love over fear, clarity over comfort. In a time of inversion, your truth may be your most powerful light. So let me ask you this: can you be that light? If you've watched this far, you're already part of the awakening, ready to see beyond the surface and uncover the deeper truth about humanity's path in 2025. Comment below with Awaken Journey to affirm your place among those seeking clarity and higher understanding. Don't go anywhere, there's still powerful insight ahead that could shift your perspective and prepare you for what's coming. Stay until the end to discover what Nostradamus truly saw and what it means for you. Number 4. False dawns, the spiritual traps. In a world increasingly hungry for meaning and transformation, where many are seeking answers beyond the surface of daily life, not every path that glows is truly guiding us home. Nostradamus, whose mysterious verses have echoed through centuries, foresaw not only a divide in humanity between the awakened and the lost, but also warned of the rise of false dawns, seductive but hollow promises of spiritual growth that lead not to liberation, but to stagnation and quiet control. These false dawns come dressed in the language of evolution and light, but beneath the surface, they are cleverly designed illusions, pacifying the soul with just enough sparkle to feel like progress, yet never enough truth to ignite real awakening. Many who walk into these traps don't do so out of ignorance, but from a genuine desire to grow, and that's what makes these paths so dangerous. The lights they follow aren't dark and frightening, they are polished, alluring, and often praised by others, offering the comfort of belonging and the thrill of transformation without ever confronting the inner illusions that truly need dissolving. We see these traps today in the rise of spiritual consumerism, where growth is something to be purchased: a weekend retreat, a trending guru, a carefully curated lifestyle that looks awakened on the outside but remains untouched at the core. Many movements mimic the outer shape of awakening, rituals repeated without intention, charismatic leaders who speak of depth yet avoid accountability, ideologies that promise transcendence while keeping one safely within the walls of their familiar pain. They offer frameworks and mantras that feel deep but carefully sidestep the discomfort necessary for genuine change. These are not just harmless distractions, they are systems that subtly condition the mind to seek approval, comfort, and entertainment in place of truth. And in a society driven by appearances, performance often replaces presence. Many are led to believe they are evolving simply because they are busy with spiritual practices, unaware that their inner landscape remains untouched, that their ego is still in the driver's seat now, just wearing a robe and holding a crystal. What makes this even more complex is that these false paths feel real because they echo the soul's authentic longing. In a culture that numbs and distracts, even a flicker of hope can seem like salvation. Nostradamus described this as a light that promises awakening but blinds those who follow it. This is not light that heals, it is light that dazzles and distracts. It's the kind of inspiration that offers no integration, knowledge that never turns into wisdom, presence that is performed but not lived. Many remain asleep, comforted by the illusion that they are awake. But real transformation rarely comes with such ease. It is not comfortable, not marketable, and certainly not always beautiful. It demands inner work that is invisible to the world, but deeply felt within. It asks us to sit in silence, to face our own shadows, to question what we believe, and to walk alone at times, guided only by a quiet inner knowing. The true path strips away false identities. It burns not to destroy, but to purify. It leaves us raw before it reveals peace. In contrast, the false dawn flatters quickly and challenges little. It offers the illusion of knowing without the work of becoming. And that is why Nostradamus's warning is so crucial today. The most dangerous enemy of awakening is not the darkness, but the counterfeit light that leads us astray without resistance. These are not traps laid with chains, but with charm. And in a time when many are awakening, discernment becomes sacred. Not all that glitters is gold, not all that speaks of light leads to it. The awakened path requires the courage to look deeper, to let go of what feels good in favor of what is true, even when it is uncomfortable. In our modern lives, where distractions are endless and validation is a click away, we must ask ourselves, is this helping me awaken, or is it just making me feel like I am? Let that question be your compass. The path may be narrow and winding, but it is real, and those who walk it with sincerity will find that the fire they feared is the very light that sets them free. Number 5. The new generation, seeds of the second dawn. In a world quietly being reshaped by a deep spiritual divide, there is a new generation rising not with banners or battles, but with the quiet strength of presence and purpose. These are not the children you may expect. They are sensitive, intuitive, often misjudged by the systems meant to teach and guide them. Nostradamus once called them the seeds of the second dawn, a phrase filled with quiet power. These children are not here to fix what's broken in the old world, they are here to build something entirely new. You might have seen them, a child who seems wise beyond their years, who feels everything deeply, who dreams vividly, or recalls memories that don't belong to this lifetime. Maybe they struggle in noisy classrooms or feel overwhelmed in crowds. Society might call them too sensitive, or slap labels on them that try to explain what doesn't need fixing. But the truth is, these children are not broken, they are advanced. They are the forerunners of a consciousness shift, born with a different wiring, carrying silent knowledge that reaches beyond our textbooks and timelines. Have you ever wondered why some children today seem like they've come with a mission, even if they can't yet speak of it? Why do they seem disinterested in fitting in or following outdated rules? It's because they were never meant to blend into a crumbling structure. They are meant to question, to feel, to remember. And that memory isn't about facts, it's about soul. It's about remembering that love is stronger than fear, that silence holds truth, that there is more to life than productivity and performance. These children walk through a world that often asks them to shrink, to suppress their light so they can belong. But conformity was never their calling. They are here to see through the illusions, to expose the cracks in the systems we've long accepted as normal, and to point us towards something more honest, more whole. And so, what is our role in all of this? Those of us who are beginning to awaken to life's deeper meaning, who sense that there's more than what we see, what must we do when we meet one of these bright, sensitive souls? Our job is not to change them, but to see them, not to silence their voice, but to make room for it. These children don't need pressure, they need presence. They don't need to be pushed, they need to be understood. We are the bridge for them, just as they are the bridge to what comes next. Can you imagine what might unfold if just one child is truly seen and supported for who they really are? These young ones are already beginning their quiet revolution, not through rebellion, but through recalibration. They bring new ideas through their art, their energy, their very being. They feel like they don't belong in the old world because they're not supposed to. They belong to what's coming. Nostradamus saw that after a time of great confusion, a generation would rise who could look both backward and forward, learning from the pain of the past, while dreaming something wiser into the future. And if we are willing to walk with them, to learn from them, and to help clear the path ahead, then perhaps we will live to see a more conscious earth take root. So here's the message we must carry. If you are raising one of these children, teaching them, or simply observing them from afar, know that your presence matters more than your perfection. Don't rush to fix, pause to listen. Don't fear their sensitivity, celebrate it. And most of all, ask yourself, what kind of world are we preparing for them, and what might they be here to prepare in return? The lesson is simple yet profound true. Transformation begins not with loud revolutions, but with the quiet choice to love, to support, and to see. Number 6. Collapse of old systems. Imagine for a moment that you're standing at a crossroads in human history, where the familiar world you've always known seems to be unraveling. Nostradamus, the mysterious prophet of old, did not warn us of fire raining from the sky or the sudden end of everything, but of something even deeper. The quiet, steady collapse of old systems, and with them, the illusions we've been living under. What if this isn't the end, but a beginning? He saw a transformation, not a punishment, but a necessary shift. The foundations of our world, those built on fear, control, and division, are being exposed for what they are. Temporary scaffolds that no longer support the rising consciousness of humanity. Have you felt it? The growing sense that the world no longer fits us, like clothes we've outgrown. Governments stumble, not because of attacks, but because people no longer believe in them. Economic systems strain, not from outside forces, but because they are built on imbalance and exploitation. Institutions crumble from within, and the stories we once believed about who we are and what we should strive for no longer inspire us. Does that feel like chaos, or could it be clarity? Now, ask yourself, if everything around you is shaking, could it be so that something more truthful might emerge? For those still rooted in the old way of thinking, these shifts feel like the ground is falling out from beneath them. But to those who have begun to awaken, what looks like collapse is actually the shedding of a skin that no longer serves us. It's painful, yes, but isn't every real transformation? Nostradamus didn't speak of destruction as an end, but as a doorway. He foresaw a time when illusions would crack open, exposing what's real underneath. Yes, cities may shake, markets may fall, identities we've clung to, our jobs, our roles, our hierarchies may vanish. But was that ever truly who we were? What if what's falling away is not life, but the mask covering life? For the awakened, those who are starting to see the bigger picture, this collapse is not death, but liberation. While others grieve for what is leaving, the awakened breathe deeply, feeling truth return to the space where illusions once lived. While many cling desperately to the known, the awakened begin to let go, trusting in the process, however uncomfortable. Isn't that a powerful shift in perception? To see loss not as the end, but as space for something new to grow. The systems we've relied on were not built to empower us, they were built to distract us, to divide us, to suppress what's true. Their fall, then, is not a tragedy, it's a revelation. But here's the question we must all ask ourselves. Now that the old is falling, what are we choosing to build in its place? Because collapse alone changes nothing. What matters is how we respond, what we create, and who we become. Are we ready to align with truth, even if it costs us our comfort? Can we hold a vision of a better world, even when the present one crumbles? Nostradamus believed we could. He spoke of transformation with a quiet strength, trusting that those who chose truth would find their wings. He wrote, "The eagle will shed its feathers, and in nakedness shall fly higher than before." Isn't that a beautiful image? We are that eagle, and what we are shedding are not our strengths, but our illusions. So let me ask you, are you ready to fly higher? Still here? That means you're not just curious, you're awakening. Nostradamus warned of a future divided between the awakened and the lost. Which will you be? Comment, "I choose awareness," if you're ready to walk the path of truth. There's more to reveal, so stay with us as we explore what 2025 might truly hold. Number 7. Fractured reality and dual earth. As we move through these uncertain times, a profound shift is happening, one that doesn't show itself through the usual headlines or global events, but through the way each of us is experiencing reality itself. More and more, people are noticing that even when they stand side by side, see the same moment unfold, and share the same space, they come away with entirely different truths. One sees chaos and collapse, another feels calm and insight. This divergence isn't simply about opinion or perspective, it signals a much deeper transformation within human consciousness. As Nostradamus wrote, "The world shall be one, yet seen as two." What once sounded like a riddle now feels like a direct observation of our world today. We're entering an era where the fabric of reality is no longer shared in the way it once was. Our perceptions, what we see, what we believe, and what we emotionally respond to are no longer rooted in one collective stream, but split across different levels of awareness. Some remain locked into fear, division, and dependency on outer control, while others are awakening to something softer, more symbolic, and strangely familiar. The inner voice, synchronicities, and a sense of unseen order. As the Buddha said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." What we tune into is what we begin to live. This awakening doesn't create a new planet physically, but it does give rise to what some call the two Earths. One is filled with noise-endless distractions, constant conflict, and the exhausting loop of fear. The other vibrates differently, offering peace through connection, purpose, and presence. The key difference isn't location, but vibration. It is a matter of inner frequency. And in that frequency, we each make our choice, not once, but every day. Not with loud declarations or dramatic acts, but with the quiet and consistent rhythm of our thoughts, our habits, and our hearts. Living in this split can feel surreal. Many who are waking up feel like they're in a dream, walking among people who don't yet see the dream as dream. It's not about superiority, it's about clarity. And yet this clarity brings a responsibility to remain grounded in compassion. It is easy to feel frustrated, to want to pull others into the light. But the awakened path is not one of force, it is one of example, of living so truthfully and peacefully that others feel the invitation rather than hear the demand. This is the real gift. Those who walk the path of truth begin to feel more attuned to life. Their intuition sharpens, their inner compass guides them to situations and people that nourish the soul. And slowly, their reality begins to mirror their inner state. As Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "The way out is in." By cultivating our presence, purifying our mind, and anchoring our actions in love, we are already shaping a different world. The earth is not being destroyed, it is being sorted, not by power or wealth, but by the energy of intention. Every choice we make becomes a stepping stone into one of these two futures. And so the question we each face is not, what will happen, but who am I becoming through the way I live right now? In this fractured reality, that is the most powerful act of all. Number 8. The guardians, the gatekeepers. As the world quietly shifts, and the unseen layers between what is and what could be begin to thin, there are those among us rising not with noise or demand, but with calm presence and quiet strength. Nostradamus, in his cryptic and poetic wisdom, hinted at their existence, these guardians or gatekeepers, not as mystical figures above the rest of us, but as ordinary people carrying extraordinary inner clarity. They are not here to rule, to predict, or to take the spotlight. Their mission is far deeper and more sacred, to keep the door of awakening open for those still wandering in the dark. And maybe, just maybe, that includes you. So who are these guardians? You won't always notice them by what they say, but you'll feel their impact in a subtle moment of clarity, a shift within, or a breath of peace when you didn't know you needed it. They may be the healer whose gentle words begin to mend wounds you thought would never close. They might be the artist whose creation stirs something ancient inside of you, a memory, a truth, a silent awakening. Or perhaps they are the stranger who crosses your path only once but says something that stays with you forever. They could even be that friend who speaks rarely but always seems to know exactly when and how to offer a guiding word. What marks a guardian isn't fame or authority, it's their ability to see through illusion, to hold their center when the world spins into chaos, and to keep walking with love when fear surrounds them. Their mission is not to awaken others by force. Awakening is a choice zone that must be freely made. Instead, guardians protect the gateways, moments of insight, feelings of deep connection, and spiritual clarity that remind us of a higher way of living. They offer stillness in the noise, presence in the rush, truth in confusion. Can you think of someone in your life who has held space for you without asking for anything in return? Who reminds you of who you are when you've forgotten? Maybe that's someone else, or maybe it's you. Because here's the deeper truth, you might be one of them. If you've ever stood alone in your truth while others chased distraction, if you've endured hardship and come out softer, wiser, more grounded, then you've already begun walking the path. Guardians aren't perfect. They carry their own pain, their own questions. What sets them apart is not their lack of suffering, but their willingness to walk through it with open hearts and calm strength. They don't need to convince or convert, they simply live in alignment with something higher, and by doing so, they shine a quiet light for others to follow. Their lives are not performances, but offerings. Nostradamus captured this beautifully. The sun shall rise through the eyes of the few, and through them warm the eyes of the many. This is a call to you if you felt overwhelmed by the weight of knowing, if your insight isolates you, if your heart aches for the state of the world, It might be because you've been prepared, not punished. You're not broken, you're being refined, transformed into someone who can hold light while others search for theirs. So ask yourself, in a world full of noise and fear, are you willing to be the one who listens deeply, who holds space without needing to be seen, who shines not to be praised, but to guide? If so, your role is not small, it's sacred. The message is this: you don't need to be a savior to make a difference. Just by being present, aware, and willing to embody truth, you serve as a lighthouse in stormy seas. And sometimes, one small light is enough to lead many home. So as we stand at this strange, beautiful threshold between illusion and truth, between forgetting and remembering, may we each find the courage to listen, to wake up gently, to live more deeply. The split Nostradamus spoke of is not a punishment, it's an invitation. Not to fear but to choose. Will we drift further into the noise, or will we return to what is real? If this message touched something in you, even quietly, then perhaps you're already awakening. And if so, you're not alone. We're walking this path together. If you'd like to keep exploring these questions with us, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom. And please, turn on notifications so you won't miss the insights still to come. Because this isn't just a video, it's a mirror, a call, a light. And the journey of wisdom is just getting started.